Welcome, and I have a visitor today to assist me in the kitchen. I've got to get this little box off our screen. And this is Zach, my son. You've heard me talk about him, and some of you have seen him when he delivers coffee to me. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about examples and show you examples of rates and ratios. Zach's going to help me with the rate today. Remember, a ratio is when you just have a comparison of two different things and how they relate to each other. It doesn't work. There's no work going on. And the units are always the same unless you're doing a mixture, which we're going to do in a little while, you'll see. And then that's how it blends. So a ratio is important, how we keep the eggs and the flour together, and that we keep it proportionally the same. So if I double the mixture, it will have the same taste and same consistency. Even though eggs and flour are different, it's still a ratio. A rate, though, works. And a rate is always different units, and the units have to be in the final answer of the fraction. But remember, the fraction, you don't say it as 2/3. You say, if it's a rate, 2 per 3, 2 miles per 3 gallons. Now remember, that's not a unit rate, that would just be a rate. But what we're going to do, and Zach's going to assist me here, is we've got this, it's longer, it's bigger than a yardstick. It's 48 inches, and I'm going to put it at the top on my counter here. And I'm going to drop this egg from the top of this yardstick, well, it's bigger than a yardstick, of 48 inches, and Zach's going to time it. And we're going to try to get how fast does an egg drop from 48 inches before it goes splat. And Mr. Al here is helping us here in the kitchen today. He's back. Remember, he's back down. He didn't make it to Cranbrook. He came back. He likes my kitchen better. He tried to get there, but he didn't make it.
He doesn't fly.
So, he doesn't fly very far. So I'm going to drop this egg. Zach's going to time it. The rate is going to be inches per second. So write that down. Remember, you need a piece of paper. So I have to stand up too old, although I have a new knee, so I can do this. All right. So when I say go, when Zach tells me to go, well, I'm just going to drop it, and then he's going to time it. Okay. Gross.
All right. So everyone, it took 0.63 seconds, which is 63 hundredths of a second, to drop 48 inches. Now, why don't you try to find out how far the egg would fall if this wasn't here in a single second. So work on that right now.
So set it up, inches per second. But first you're going to say inches over seconds. It was 48 inches, and it fell in 0.63 seconds. So pause the video and see if you can figure out how far it will fall in 1 second. Welcome back! Zach's going to take over and tell you the answer you should have gotten and explain to you why it might look a little odd. Zach?
So basically, the answer that you should have gotten is about 76 inches per second. Now, how did you set that up? Well, you put the inches, it was 48 inches that the egg fell from. Fell a complete 48 inches in 0.63 seconds. So, since it took 0.63 seconds to land, and you're looking for inches per second, you're going to put the 0.63 seconds on the bottom, or in the denominator of that fraction. Then, when you divide 48 by 0.63, you come out with 76.19 inches per second. Now that sounds a little strange, but it didn't take a full second for that egg to fall onto the countertop. So for a whole second to elapse, we would have to have 76.19 inches for it to actually fall and hit the countertop in exactly 1 second.
And that is an example of a rate changed to a unit rate. I'll be back in a second with a ratio. Zach, thank you very much for helping me.
High five.
See you soon.
Look for the elbows.
To get started? Are you ready to get started? We're going to go on ratios now. Talked about the rate. That's kind of interesting, wasn't it? To drop an egg How fast does it go? Unit rate. Well, now we're going to do ratios. And I'm going to make sticky buns for tomorrow morning. I'm going to make them early. So I'm not going to make a big batch of sticky buns. This sticky bun recipe could serve 12, what does it say? Well, it doesn't, 12 to 16 servings. And I don't want that many servings because I only have my family at home. There's 4 of us, and there's a guest that's visiting Abby. That's another extra person. So that's 5. And then Zach's best buddy will, I'm sure, stop by tomorrow morning for breakfast when he hears I'm making my infamous sticky buns before he goes to work. So I'm going to have 6 people. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of brown sugar. It calls for a cup of brown sugar. It calls for a half a cup of light corn syrup, which I have, a half a cup of butter, and a cup of pecans coarsely chopped. That would give me how many servings? 12 to 16 servings. Now that's just the bottom, which is the top of the sticky roll. So I'm going to cut that in half. Because why? Because a ratio, when I'm making a recipe and I either double it or cut it in half or alter the recipe in any way, I need to keep the ingredients proportional to each other so that the result is the same. So if I need a cup of brown sugar, how much brown sugar do I need if I'm going to half it? Please tell me you know. If it's a cup of brown sugar, I need a half a cup. Now this is kind of interesting. We're not going to spend all this time doing this, but I'm just getting the measurements. Brown sugar tastes very good. If I need a half a cup of light corn syrup instead of regular corn syrup, got to cut calories where you can. What is a half a cup of any kind of liquid? Well, this is a half a cup, and half of a half a cup would be 1/4 of a cup, because 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4, which simplifies to, right, 1/2. So I'm going to pour a half a cup of light corn syrup, save those calories, it makes it all sticky and good, into this mixture that I need to start heating. I don't want to burn myself up, so let's make sure I get the right one. Ooh, that's gas. Then we need a half a cup of butter. Well, do you know the cool thing about sticks of butter? Sticks of butter are half a cups. This whole thing, if I melt it or pack it in, would be a half a cup. Okay, I need to turn my heat down. Don't want to start a fire. And let's see if I've got something to mix it with that I like over there. Probably going to use a spatula so that it doesn't stick too much. Okay. Well, again, if a whole stick is a half a cup, how much of the stick would be what I needed to use? Half the stick, which would be 1/4 of the cup. No, I'm not going to put the wrapper in there. Put that in there and mix it up. Now what happens if I don't keep the consistency the same and the measurements proportional to each other? It would not be good. No, it wouldn't. So now I need a cup of pecans or pecans, coarsely chopped. So what do I need? How many pecans do I need? Pecans. It says I need a cup, then I need to get a what? A half a cup. Well, I'm going to go back and use the half a cup that I used for the brown sugar. And, you know, it says I need to coarsely chop them. So I'm going to get a little baggie and put my pecans in the bag so I can do what? Coarsely chop them. Normally, people who are very good with knives would chop those on a cutting board. Okay? They would chop them. I love pecan. I'm going to take one. Now stir this, because I don't want this to burn. But I don't want to chop a knife. I cut myself a lot. So, got my little mallet. And I'm just going to chop them, kind of hammer up a little bit. Now, it's important to measure these so that I keep it consistent. Now you think some people like the extra nuts. And look at that. That's pretty good. Half a cup. If I put a whole cup, now I am going to add a few extra because that's just me. Break them up there. I don't know what the heck to put them. But if I put a whole cup in this mixture of pecans, it would be overpowering. It would be too many pecans on the top of the mixture. Oh, that looks good. You want to see? Well, I got to turn down the heat so I don't burn myself up. See? You see that? Boy, does that look good. Can you see it? That's going to be on the bottom of the pan, of which I turn it over. It's going to be in. Okay. So, you see that's a ratio. And what we just did is we went backwards and cut the recipe in half instead of doubling it, so that the items would remain proportional to each other and the ingredients would blend well. That's not a rate, that's a ratio. I'll be back later to show you the results of the pecan. All right, so here we go. Remember I told you I'd show you the results? Here they are, my famous sticky buns. Aren't that good? Now you can imagine this is half the recipe. Imagine if it was a whole recipe. I can't bring these into school because of the nuts, but I will have a surprise for everybody tomorrow. Right, Mr. Al? Yeah, no? Yes. Right, okay. He's glad to be back home. I'll see you tomorrow. Think about what we said, the difference between a rate and a ratio. Hopefully this will have helped. Bye-bye.